Hello, everybody. I'm Marty Owings, and this is Capital Conversations for Tuesday, March 18th, 2013. I'm pleased tonight to be joined by Representative Tony Albright from Prior Lake.
Thank you.
He's a Republican representative in his first term, and he's been busy up here this last few months working on some important stuff going on in the legislature. Let's kick it off by just talking a little bit about the governor's budget, his revised budget. Now, apparently some of the criticism that not only resonated with the GOP and some of the citizenry in your party, obviously, governor took to heart. Sounds like at least he dropped the sales tax and a couple of other things. The property regressive, or some people called regressive property tax rebate. So let's talk a little bit about your reaction to that.
I appreciate the fact that the governor listened and took to heart what not only the GOP caucus had to say, but also the citizens and especially the businesses in the state in terms of the struggle that they're under right now to keep the momentum going in a very fragile recovery. And to say, rather than lay more burden on them, what can we do to help? I don't know all the details of what's in the governor's budget, given the fact that the targets just came out a few hours ago. But I'm pleased at the do-over thus far as what I've heard, and look forward to getting into the details in the coming days.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what some of those details are in terms of just what we know today. The governor dropped the sales tax piece, and there's been some revisions to some of the other things. What about, I mean, obviously the B2B tax thing got a lot of attention from the business community and from Republicans. What did the governor hear about? I know he made this statement at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. Was first people heard of it, and he said, "Hey, people, don't worry, we're gonna change that." What went through the process, as far as you know, in the Republican caucus to kind of put a little pressure on the governor to maybe change some of those things? Who communicated that? What was the process?
Well, I think it goes back to when we first started the session, and the chamber and small business owners. I represent a good number of representation from that section of the economy. And they overwhelmingly came to us and said, Representative Albright, we cannot deal with this. It's just more than we can handle. And we took that to heart within the caucus. We actually invited small business owners, job creators, to our pre-huddle or pre-meeting before the State of the State with Governor Dayton, and had a listening session in terms of what their concerns were. Took those to heart, and we relayed those to the governor as well. And it appears that the governor is listening, at least in that faction, to what the business community is having to deal with in this state, and took it to heart.
Well, in terms of what's left now that you know about from the original budget, looking at that, I know you haven't been in the deep weeds yet, but tell me about what's left and what is in there that might be palatable to you and other members of the GOP.
Again, I will...
and DFL, for that matter, if you want to speak for them. We invited them, but they weren't able to attend.
My concern is that the governor's budget still conveys a desire to tax those that can afford it, but they can also afford to move out of this state. And I talk in terms of the small business community. I talk about those that create the jobs in this state. I'm describing those that certainly believe, and as the GOP caucus and myself believe, are already paying their fair share. What they're seeking for is a level playing field that allows for them to create even more jobs for people in this state, that affords for good paying jobs for anyone that is looking for one. If we hear that from the governor, I think that we can work together on a methodology and on a goal of getting a budget together that is not just one-sided.
Well, I appreciate that. Let me ask you a question about this. For years we've sort of heard that, if the taxes affect businesses in such a way that they flee the state, yet, some of the data that we've examined on this program and others, I guess, has said that that's not actually the case, that they're not actually leaving the state in droves, that they come here for good, and this is I don't want to argue for the Democrats, but they're not here, so I'll play
Sure.
devil's advocate
Sure.
for a moment. That we have a skilled workforce because we reinvest in all of these things that those taxes help pay for. But really, where does the argument come from? I mean, do you hear directly from business owners that say, look, Representative Albright, if you let the governor do this or you guys raise taxes, we're out. We're going to go to South to North Dakota something. Do you actually hear them say that?
I have heard that from constituents in my district that have said, if this type of continued attack on small businesses continues,
Yeah.
they are already in discussions or will conduct conversations that allow them to move out of this state.
And, I mean, where do you think that's coming from, though? I mean, what's the impetus for them to tell you that? I'm just curious, getting at the bottom of it.
I think we're to the point where small businesses can bear no more.
Right.
That the playing field is so tilted towards taxing them at every turn, whether through a regulatory environment or through almost a derogatory review of profit, that they will not continue without taking a look at their alternatives.
Feel like they're being overly regulated and scrutinized and thus taxed
Correct.
out of business. Okay, very good enough. Let's talk a little bit about turning the attention away from the budget for a second, but
Sure.
back onto the DFL. When they ran on the platform that basically the GOP had overreached during their now you don't own
The
any of
last
this.
biennium.
Is this. Well, I guess you do own a little piece. Well, not really,
No.
but you weren't in that group.
No.
But apparently, the DFL blamed them for the overreach and said, look, you guys put 2 amendments on the ballot. You didn't go up and do what you told the voters you were going to do, which was jobs and focusing on taxes. And I'm not trying to be accusatorial, I'm just
No.
kind of playing that role.
Mhm.
So now looking at it today, from your standpoint, seeing what the DFL has done and looking at some of the social issues that come up, do you think that they have now made the same errors that the GOP might have made or that they accused the GOP of making last session? Just from your viewpoint.
From my
Yeah,
viewpoint,
vantage point, coming in new.
coming into this session from the Democrats, I heard that they wanted to create jobs. I have yet to see a job bill, either in committee or on the floor. I've seen a number of actions that they have taken that have killed jobs, but I've not seen one yet that actually creates jobs.
Okay, so then getting further into that, let's talk a little bit about those issues that come up that take the time and attention away from what you feel should be the core focus. So gay marriage, for instance, or same-sex marriage. Where do you stand on that? And is it an issue that we should be discussing now, given the fact that your party put it on the ballot as an amendment last session? So
I'm opposed to it, but it is not the emphasis that I think the legislature should take.
in either case?
In the business of the legislature should be to promote the well-being of the family, the well-being of the business community, and to provide safe streets and security for families. You know, that and build the infrastructures that people can get around, both for commerce as well as individuals. That is, and as they said,
Yeah.
that was an intention to be their first priority. In my personal opinion, we've not seen that yet.
Well, I want to stick with this issue for just a second, because do you then think it was a mistake for the GOP to put that on as an amendment, as a constitutional amendment last session, or not?
I'll defer to the people that made that decision.
Okay, all right. So, well, then we might see a vote on it. I mean, it's gone through committee.
We'll see.
So, we'll see. All right, fair enough. All right, let's talk about the healthcare exchange a little bit, because I understand you've been pretty involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And the governor and the legislature had to get something done, I think, before mid-March in order for this thing not to default to the boys in Washington,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you want
That's
to call
correct.
612, or do you want to call 212, I've heard it said, right? So I guess if you're the lesser of two evils, it's here, you don't like it, I understand.
Mhm.
I'm
I do
making
not.
an assumption, right? Okay, well, tell me a little bit about what specifically you're opposed to in the healthcare exchange, or is it just because it's related to the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare? Where are you at on that?
The insurance exchange that the Democrats crafted, and the reason that I say that is because we offered up numerous amendments that we feel would have provided for greater consumer choice, for greater transparency, for accountability, as well as for protection of the privacy of the data that is going to be collected by this, to no avail.
Let's talk about this transparency a little bit, because I understand that it's this, shadowy group of 7 that, maybe my terminology is incorrect, but.
Well, the bill stipulates a 7-member board that, in our opinion, by a majority of 4, can decide the terms and conditions for what is offered to the people that are looking to buy their health insurance through the exchange.
But sure, but that's the case with any group of, that has an odd number in it. The majority will make the decision, right?
But the point being is that the consumer is looking for an opportunity to make a personal decision.
Okay.
And the members on that board are really taking that away from the individual citizens of the state. We advocate where consumers have an opportunity to choose for themselves and for their families what is in their best interests, rather than what's in the best interest as a 7-member board would have for them. It's limiting choice. Overall in this state, we have about 700 insurance plans that a citizen can legitimately have it take a look at. That's been boiled down to 56. Is that going to be a number that's a fair approximation for what every citizen and family group has a need for? That remains to be seen. But in our opinion, greater choice allows for greater competition, allows for a greater opportunity for prices to be driven down.
Well, let's get to that for a second, because I want to ask you in a little bit more detailed question on that. In terms of limiting the choice, right now, today, they don't have a healthcare exchange run by the state. So even if they only had 2 people in that healthcare exchange, it'd be better than what they have today, some of them, right? I mean, because they don't have any access, or very limited access. So, I mean, are you against it in principle, or are you against it because of this lack of transparency, or this,
I'm against it based upon principle, and I'm against it based upon the mechanical functionary that has gone on inside of it.
So you're kind of making a 2-pronged argument here. One, there's not enough transparency and, I guess, oversight.
Correct.
From what your party has said.
Correct.
And I think most citizens would be concerned about that.
Yes.
They'd be interested to know who is regulating this group that's making these big decisions about their healthcare choices.
Exactly.
But accepting the fact that it's happening, the ship has sailed, the train has left the station, whatever you want to put it. Now you're down into the functional weeds, right? I mean, now you're trying to make it better. If you're going to have to live with it, let's make it the best we can. Is that what your aim is?
Our aim is to hope that there's an opportunity to make it better. Unfortunately, the Democrats are disinclined to acquiesce to our request.
Have they accepted any of your amendments, proposals? I understood that they had done some bipartisan work on it.
The amendments that were accepted were superficial at best, and based upon the outcome from the conference committee, most were taken out in the final language.
Okay. Anything else in the healthcare exchange you want to highlight as more concerning for you, or in general, what you think the citizens people in Minnesota should know?
Be very wary, do your due diligence, and we'll look to see what the Democrats have done to us in a couple of years.
Okay, well, before we wrap up, and we only got, we're slightly under a minute here, but first term.
Yes.
Okay, the place is kind of overwhelming when you first come up here, but I think did you get a sense that you were in a place that was special, that the people who built this place wanted you guys to get along, work together, make a good state?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Being
here.
When I took the oath of office, and was sworn in back in January, you don't realize the presence of the people that have gone before you, nor the respect that is owed the institution based upon the people that sent you here until you swear to uphold the Constitution and then follow it up with the Pledge of Allegiance. That in and of itself really makes you realize just how important the task that you have at hand.
Okay, yeah, and how's it going so far?
I have an utmost respect for those that have come before me because it is a difficult task,
Yeah,
but I'm enjoying it
threw it into sharp focus first time you get on the floor, I guess.
very much so.
Well, good.
Yes.
Well, welcome, and I hope you are able to do your job well here, and that you're enjoying at least some of it. I mean,
It's a very enjoyable opportunity, and I hope I represent my people well.
good. Well, thank you, Representative Albright. Pleasure to have you on tonight. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll be right back with Paul Demko and Doug Groh to talk about all of the action up here at the Capitol. Be right back after this. Stay tuned.